All right.
Okay. Can I interview? I guess so. Okay, welcome to February's meeting of Baton Rouge Astronomical Society. Do we have any guests or new members? Who do we have here?
My name's Lucas.
Lucas?
Catherine.
Catherine? Are you new members or just guests?
We're new. We came to telescope school.
Okay. So
Hi guys, welcome back.
anybody else? It's always kind of strange because I'm looking this way and looking this way, and these guys can't see these guys. So make sure you say hi to everybody when you get a chance here. Okay, a couple announcements before we get going too far. Find my notes because I tend to forget things. Of course, Ben is not here tonight. Tonight and tomorrow night he's performing for various Mardi Gras celebrations, so he won't be here. But he asked me to talk about Zippity Zoo Fest. Now this is April 6th, I believe.
8th. No.
6th, but a lot of us are going to be out of town in April for this little thing called an eclipse or something. So is there anybody that's going to be around that wants to participate or help out with Zippity Zoo Fest? So far, we don't have anybody, so.
I could come in the morning if I don't have any funerals that day.
Okay.
But then I got a mass, I got confessions at 3 o'clock in
Okay.
South Ashley, so.
Okay.
It's typically an all-day event. It's really a lot of fun. We need a small crew for the morning, small crew for the afternoon. That breaks it up into nice little 4-hour bits.
Yeah.
We can always only go for half a day if we
Yeah,
half a day.
They've asked us to volunteer. If we can, we can. If not,
It's a fun thing to do.
yeah.
I would say
I've been
that.
to it. It's been a few years, but
I've done almost every year, and it's great. It's just we're going to be in Texas for the eclipse.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's
us too.
Don, I'm gonna be available, but I have to check my schedule to see what.
Okay, I'll pass it to Ben.
I can do it. What time is it?
it's
Scott,
all day. It'll run from like 8 to 5 o'clock,
Okay.
or maybe 10 to 5. It's usually it starts about mid-morning. I never go for the morning.
It starts at 9. We normally there at 8 to set up everything.
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's on the
Baton
north side of
Rouge.
Baton Rouge, the
It's
Baton
in
Rouge.
Baker. Oh, okay.
The zoo.
Oh.
next. Yes.
The
Okay, and also, Chris, where'd Chris go? I just saw him a second ago. In the bathroom, of course. Right, when he comes out. Let's go. Edge of Night, is that what it's called?
It's a twilight viewing, yeah, we do that 3 times a year.
Yeah, and so that is on March the 8th, is that right?
Yes, it's always the Friday before the time.
Okay, so what we're planning on doing is having a public viewing after that. The Edge of Twilight is something that Breck does here at the observatory. But following that, we're going to have a public viewing. So we ask that if anybody has telescopes, come out here that night and we'll set up and just be out here for all the public that comes to the other event.
What date is that?
March the 8th, right? That's
it's going to be the Friday before the
Friday.
small.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
You
right.
can bring your own telescope?
Yeah, you can bring your own telescope and set up. And basically the idea is that we are running the observatory for the night because Breck's closed down. And that the main thing is like if people come through the park and they,
Yeah.
you feel generous, let them take a look. And we'll basically be doing the public star party instead of Breck that night.
Yeah. So good chance if you want to bring your scope out if you haven't.
It's a
shaken
basic,
the dust off of it for a while, bring it out and set up. And we'll,
yeah, it's we're introducing this star party as sort of a replacement for the members only observing nights that we're doing out here. And mind you, we can always shut the public out at 10 and stay as long as we want and just view for ourselves. But we thought this might be a fun way to get people out here and involved.
Yeah.
And do a public service at the same time, which, that's part of our charter.
And the last thing I have is the April meeting. We've touched on it already. A lot of us are going to be out of town that weekend. So instead of having it the second Monday of April, make a note of it. It's going to be the third Monday in April.
Oh, good. Oh, so it's day before. Okay, yeah.
Okay. And we have one presentation to make to Scott for the Observing Stellar Evolution program, which I know absolutely nothing about,
Oh,
so I'll let Scott describe what it is he did.
The Stellar Evolution program is basically going through and figuring, doing viewings of the life cycles of the stars from basically the hydrogen gas all the way through star formation and the development into various larger stars and their remnants afterwards. It's the life cycle of the star. So this one is you basically go through and they picked out 100 or so different objects, and you go through and you some from each particular category, and you read what's going on there, and you learn to identify it at sight. It's like, okay, well, this star looks like this, and so that means this is what's going on in its life cycle right now. And it's a great way to think about stars, and it gives you something else that you can talk about to people as they come around. So this was fun. I highly recommend this one.
Awesome. John has a card, thank you card, I guess, sent to us.
Yes.
From
Okay.
Alcon.
It's a Christmas card that we received from, read his name here. Scott Richardson, who's a member of the Oklahoma Astronomy Club. He was here for Alcon. He sent us a Christmas card to the Friends of the Baton Rouge Astronomical Society, and he had a little letter in there about Alcon, so I want to read that real fast. Addressed to me, because that's the contact he had here. So it says, Nate, I wish to thank you and the other members of the Baton Rouge Astronomical Society for hosting Alcon 2023 this past summer. This gave me an opportunity to not only enjoy Baton Rouge, but also return to my alma mater, Louisiana State University. When I started at LSU, I intended to become an astronomer, but due to circumstances, instead, I became an engineer. I enjoyed my career in engineering, but once I retired from that, I wanted to come back to astronomy, at least as an amateur. Though I'm a member of the Oklahoma City Astronomy Club, and in parentheses he says they have a strong program there, I really felt that attending this Alcon in Baton Rouge was worth the extra effort and time required to travel in person. And as I mentioned, Baton Rouge has a certain nostalgia value to me. The Alcon was quite informative, and the Highland Park Observatory was and varies in all capital letters, impressive, with 3 exclamation points. He really liked it here. And of course, I enjoyed going to the Landau Observatory at LSU, or perhaps better put, returning there. In parentheses, I went to an open night session there once in the mid-1970s during one of the rare occasions I had free time while attending school there. And lastly, he says the Oklahoma City Astronomy Club has its own observatory also in the countryside near Watonga, Oklahoma. Pretty good observatory, but not nearly advanced as a Highland Road Park Observatory. And I've used the Celestron SkyMaster Pro 15x70 binoculars, which he won in the drawing at Alcon. There, in the view with them at our observatory is quite impressive. Thank you. They have helped me to return to sky watching after all these years. I am very, capital letters are very again, grateful to them. It was certainly Christmas in July for me when I won them. Therefore, I would like to thank the club by wishing you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's.
Cool. And we have one other member. I'm embarrassed because I don't recall his name. I know he's Father
Mike.
Mike. I met him down one time at Lutcher when we were doing a sidewalk astronomy down there. But he has a pair of binoculars that he's wanting to sell, so he's just going to describe them for y'all. And if you're interested, get with him after the meeting. If not, he's going to be putting them on.
Putting on Estimate or Cloudy Nights. It's the overworked BT100 ED version, so it's not the APO. I will say, when the moon's full, you do see a green fringe around it. So, but they come with the 14 millimeter eyepieces, which gives you a 40x view. And overworked sells quite reasonably, I think, 22 and a 7. And it's a nice binocular. It's the 100 millimeter, and so I'm when I put them on Astromark, I'm gonna ask 1,600, but if anybody here wants them, they're 13. So that's the offer. I have them here if you want to look through them. I brought them in the tripod so we could look at some things tonight. It's clear.
Perfect.
It's
Thank you,
clear.
spend your
Yeah,
time.
sir, it's amazingly enough.
Thank you.
Okay, so this brings us to our evening presentation, members Chris and Annette. And I'll let you introduce these folks.
Okay, will do. We're lucky to be members of two different clubs in Baton Rouge, okay? This one, the Astronomical Society, and also the Baton Rouge Gem and Mineral Society. And as we made friends in both clubs, which is a definite plus. And so some of our friends over here are Catherine and her mom Sharon Rocha. And so we're going to be talking to you very shortly here about different minerals and how they began in the universe and how they set up in our world, our Earth, and some uses with it a little bit. But they take it to an art form, okay? They go a step beyond. I mean, this is not me, all right? And so Catherine is a gemologist, and she's going to explain how she does some of the beautiful work that she does. So please, there she is.
Hello, everyone. So as Annette said, I'm a graduate gemologist. I'm also a lapidated artist, which means I work cutting and polishing stones, and I'm also a silversmith. So what I do is I take stones where they're in the rough like this, and I have an 18-inch slab saw, a diamond saw that's cooled with mineral oil, and I slice the stones to both about 6 millimeters in thickness. I know this is going to be hard for y'all to see, but we're going to stay set up for a few minutes after the meeting, so y'all are more welcome to come see things closer. This is an example of how to make a cabochon. I don't have a rough piece of obsidian, so pretend this is a rough piece of obsidian right here, which is actually jasper, but it would start off as a rock like this. I slice it to a 6 millimeter thick slab, and I have a 6-wheel grinder. It goes from an 80 grit diamond to a 14,000 synthetic sapphire bill. And then just the stone docked on a dowel stick, or I just hold the stone, which is terrible for fingernails. I don't recommend that. I grind the stone down to whichever desired shape. And then after that, I hand forge the setting. So let me take up one a little bit bigger right here. It might be easier to see from a distance. So all the silver I use, I do hand forging. I don't do hand fabrication. I don't do any casting. So the magnolias, the 3-dimensional magnolias, all of that start as one solid sheet of 22 gauge silver. And I had to cut out all the details and stack and solder and sculpt the metal by hand. And then on the back of these, I have designs as well. So most of my pieces are reversible. So you can have like, 2-for-1 kind of thing. I enjoy drawing and sketching, so I try to put a lot of that artwork into my pendants. Just to make them more unique. And then my family and I, we have a rock business. So we have about 80,000 pounds of rough rock on our property. And 4 times a year, twice in spring, twice in the fall, we open it up and we have public come in to buy rock by the pound. We do polish a lot of the larger stones ourselves in rock tumblers. I have a flyer over here. Y'all are welcome to come and take a photo of it to see the days that we're going to be open. And if any of you here would like to work with ultraviolet lights, UV lights, we have a UV light night hunt. So you can come out and search for fluorescent rocks as well.
It's a blast.
Yeah. All right. If any questions afterwards, I'm going to be here. I'm going to let Chris and Annette go ahead and get started, so I'll take up too much of the time there. All right, thank y'all. I'm going to put these off. Yeah.
I'm Chris Raby, with my wife Annette. We are both rock hounds. I've been accused of having rocks in our head, but we brought a lot of material from our collections. About half of this material is self-collected, some is bought. Mainly we brought it to illustrate some basic types of common rocks. Normally we do these for rock presentations for people, for rocks. Well, Ben asked us to do one tonight for the astronomy club. So I was searching, and how can I tie rocks to astronomy? And I remembered we belong. There's a mineral symposium in Dallas every year, and we get a disc of all the symposium presentation. There was a presentation about 10 years ago by Dr. Robert Hazen on the evolution of minerals. He is an astrobiologist and a mineralogist. And he was interested in how did minerals form, both in the universe and on the Earth. And so he put together a lot of data, and he gave about a 40-minute presentation. I distilled down some notes. What do you think the very first mineral ever in the cosmos was? Most likely.
Quartz?
Was it diamond? After the Big Bang, all you had was hydrogen, helium, and a tiny bit of lithium. There was no minerals. You had to have the first stars to explode, make carbon, all the heavy metals. But in the hot molecular clouds, diamonds would crystallize directly from carbon vacuum deposition, which is the way we make synthetic diamonds today. And so he thought that diamonds crystallize at about 7,500 degrees. Graphite would be next, and then as the thing cooled, other minerals would form. Now on the Earth, as all the small groups of material congealed into the Earth, originally we had about 250 minerals on the Earth when it first formed. Today we have over 6,000. And he was interested in how did we get from 250 to 6,000. Well, when the Earth first formed, we had about 250. Then we had plate tectonic start. We got bombarded. We had water come in. That got us to about 1,500, and that's the end. Physics and chemistry can get us to about 1,500 now. What got us from 1,500 to 6,000 was life on Earth. There was an event called the Great Oxidation Event, when the Earth's atmosphere went from 0 oxygen to about 10%, about 2 billion years ago. That enabled all these new minerals to form. And that's why we have all these beautiful minerals today. As I said, there's about 6,000 minerals. We have some of the more common ones. What do you think is the most common by mass? What's the most common element in the crust of the Earth? Silicon is number 2.
Iron.
Iron is number 4.
Stone?
No, an element.
Aluminum?
No, aluminum's 5.
Calcium.
Calcium is another top 10.
Not even top 10.
I don't think it's oxygen. What we breathe is the most common element in the Earth's crust. Oxygen and silicon, those two by themselves make over half of the mass of the Earth's crust. The most common mineral with oxygen and silicon is quartz. This is a quartz crystal I dug up in Arkansas back in 1974. All I did was wash it. That is a natural crystal form of quartz. The faces have not been polished. That piece, as I said, I dug it up in 1974. Quartz by itself makes up 12% of the mass of the Earth's crust. There's another group of rocks called feldspars. There's 20 different feldspars, but as a group, they make up over half the Earth's crust.
Now, one of the things you have to understand, though, is that this quartz here has not been cut and polished.
No, that's natural.
These are the natural faces of what makes it.
All I did when I dug that thing up was wash it. And that's how it looks. Quartz has to grow in that form. In fact, this is also quartz. You can have one big crystal, you can have a lot of tiny crystals. These two pieces came from the same mine about 50 feet apart. They have dug up crystals in that mine. They run it as a commercial mine. We were there one day, they were hauling out a crystal that weighed 1.5 tons, that was 7 feet long. And I was drooling the entire time.
Yes.
Now, this is quartz.
I need to bring that around.
This is also quartz. That piece you saw in this are chemically identical.
This is really short.
There's nothing different chemically between this piece and that piece. So what happened to this? This is smoky quartz. This was exposed to naturally occurring radiation in the ground. All smoky quartz is produced by naturally occurring radiation. In fact, most smoky quartz you see today for sale is human radiation. They take a piece of white quartz, irradiate it, you get smoky quartz, and you sell it for a lot more. But this is a natural piece, came out of Brazil. I bought this. but there's actually no chemical difference. This is also quartz. This is amethyst. Amethyst is a form of quartz that has elemental iron in it and also was exposed to radiation. So all amethyst is produced having iron and radiation. The neat thing about this is, if you heat treated this properly, it turns to a beautiful brown form of quartz called citrine, which is much more valuable. Once again, most citrine sold today is heat treated natural amethyst. Because amethyst is everywhere and it's cheap. Citrine is not. So.
I'm gonna do a quick pass through here, but if you want to look at these more closely afterwards, you can come up. Otherwise, I'm gonna be way behind.
All right, that's fine.
Okay? So that we can just get, just a closer look.
Hey, Vanna, if you want to model them for the camera, I'm sure that our
that'll
friends
work.
would
Yeah,
have. Or here, up here at some point.
Oh, God, okay, it's building.
Now, some form of quartz aren't real pretty on the outside, but they look like that on the inside. This is a form of quartz called agates. This is out of Brazil. And this has been cut and polished. And what they do, they find these, and they mine them, and they cut them open. And a lot of them are solid or don't have anything in them, but some have beautiful patterns. But this is also quartz. These are microcrystalline form of quartz, where they grow in bands. But this is still quartz. Yeah, take a look. That's fine.
John, if you could bring that. Where's the?
About 2 or 3 feet. Yeah, that's fine. You don't need to get super close. Yeah, there you go. That's it. If we can count your nose here.
This is quartz from a mine in Creede, Colorado, the Last Chance Mine. If you're ever out in Creede, Colorado, and it hasn't rained in a while, I recommend you take a drive up to the Last Chance Mine. It's 10,300 feet up on a dirt road. And the parking area is about maybe half the size of this room, and it sits on the edge of an 800-foot precipice. And it is very impressive. But they have tons of this laying around the ground. It's $2 a pound. Or that was 8 years ago. And what it was, they were mining silver, and the silver occurred in veins of agate and amethyst. And where they didn't find silver, they just busted it up and chucked it on the side of the mountain. So, and it takes a beautiful polish. Oh, yeah. Okay. Wait, there it is. Please. Oh, yeah. Okay, all right.
Now this one, as you can see on the outside, when we were looking over here, and you see it's faded. A lot of it's because of the sun. One of the things we have to do with our minerals is that we have to keep them covered, okay? Because the sun will bleach some of them up over time. But this one, when it cuts it open, this has not been exposed to sunlight like this was. And that's why you get those nice, the darker veins in there.
Anybody know what this is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugly on the outside,
It's a geode, isn't
but
it?
pretty on the inside. This is a quartz geode out of Mexico. At one time, I had 250 of these. I've now given away about half of them. But I love geodes.
So what's the difference in that one and the first?
Okay, what happens is this forms in a rhyolite lava. The matrix is rhyolite lava. And what happens is it forms a pocket and it fills with hot water. And crystals have to grow into a void. With few exceptions, they cannot grow in solid rock. So all these beautiful crystals, like you see here, grew into pockets of hot water that had the right minerals in them to make crystals. Oh, okay.
Okay, tell about the one we found in Mississippi.
Yeah, about in 2010, I used to go petrify wood hunting in Mississippi back in the 70s and 80s. And there was a creek up north by Yazoo City. And I found a little small geode here and there. Well, I went up there one time. I was going to the Jim Mineral Show. I had no equipment with me, naturally. So I decided to go look at this creek, and I started poking around. And the geodes have a particular shape. This is one from that same creek. It's kind of a boiterota shape. I saw a little piece of it sticking out of the sand. And I started digging with my hands, and it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it ended up being 13 inches in diameter and weighed 55 pounds. And it has a cavity in it about that big that was lined with quartz crystals, and that came out of Mississippi. I took it to the Jim and Mineral Show in Mississippi. When I showed it to the Mississippi Geological Society, they were dumbfounded. They said they had never heard of one that big before. So occasionally you can find some pretty neat things. Now this unassuming rock here is feldspar. This is the rock that makes up half the Earth's crust. Now I got a question for you. What is the difference between a mineral and a rock? Anybody knows?
Because minerals are come from more deeper areas of the earth.
No. A mineral is defined as a natural occurring crystalline substance that has a definable composition and is formed by natural processes. Rocks are made up of minerals. Like for instance, this right here. This is a rock. This is pegmatite out of New Mexico. It's made up of quartz, feldspar, biotite mica, probably has some hornblende in it. So rocks are made up of different minerals. Minerals are individual compounds, like this thing right here. This calcite, calcium carbonate. That's all it is, CaCO3. There's nothing else in it. This is a whole bunch of different minerals inside a rock. So I'm more of a mineral collector than a rock collector, with the exception of petrified wood. I love petrified wood. Okay, right there. At one time I had 6 tons of it. All of which I lugged long distances myself, which is why I've had 3 shoulder surgeries.
That's how we first met. We were trying to load this log. It's literally in Jasper, Texas. And we're sitting in the truck ready to leave. Also, we can't let that man do that by himself. So I asked everybody up to load this log in the truck.
I did get a 285-pound piece in by myself, which I probably shouldn't have done. Now, is this a crystal?
Yes.
I would think so. No, it is not a crystal. That is a material which is crystalline, but it's not a crystal. That is calcite, and if you notice, the internal fractures all line up in the exact shape of the crystal. That is a cleavage section. They took a big lump of calcite and hit it, and it broke in those patterns. If you were to drop it on the ground, it'd break into a whole bunch of little pieces exactly that shape. So some materials are crystalline, but not a crystal in of itself. Calcite has about 5 different crystalline forms, but that's not one of them.
So is it kind of like a fractal?
Yeah, basically it's a fracture. It's you basically hit it. Because I had a big chunk of calcite I found in Arkansas. It was all muddy and ugly, so I just took a chisel and just tapped around. And ended up, that one I bought, but I ended up with a nice little one, but it wasn't pretty though. That one I bought because I needed to show it. What's neat about calcite, this one isn't clear enough. Calcite is double refractive. If you lay it on top of print and rotate it, the print rotates around itself.
Oh, that's good.
Now, you've heard of fiber optics, right? Minerals did it first. This is a piece of gypsum, which is a natural fiber optic. It's been polished, and you can read through it because it's a natural fiber optic. There's another mineral called eulexite, which does the same thing. So a lot of times things we do, minerals have done first. Anybody know what this is?
Fool's gold.
Yes, indeed. This mineral right here has been responsible for so much pain and suffering throughout history because pyrite is very heavy, it's very shiny, and occurs in the same place as gold and quartz veins. And a lot of the people who went out to California for the gold rush thought they were really rich, and nope, you found iron sulfide, and it's not worth anything. But it is a beautiful mineral. Pardon? Oh, okay. Now, Louisiana does have rocks, believe it or not. This right here is a piece of petrified palm wood. I found this at Toledo Bend about 5 years ago now. But it's not very well replaced. It's very crumbled. She has some much better petrified palm they have found. The degree of how much silica is in it makes all the difference in the world. Yeah, these are both the same thing. This has a lot more silica, so it's much harder. Every time I pick this up, little pieces fall off because they're crumbled. But now, people have been defined petrified wood as wood that has turned to stone. but that is not correct. All petrified wood is a cast fossil, the same as the dinosaur bone. The wood is buried in an anoxic environment and later hot, so silicified water penetrates, and as the wood dissolves, the silica replaces the wood, sometimes down to a cellular level. There's pieces where you can, if you do a thin section and magnify it, you can see the individual cells, but they are petrified. They are silica. They're no longer wood. It's basically a cast fossil.
One of the things I want to make clear is that the materials that we have up here, these have not been cut and polished like this, okay? This is their natural form. And so the only things we have cut are that it's sliced open, like something like the agates or the geodes. But all these other types of shapes, these are their natural form.
If you buy quartz crystals, you look really hard at the faces. If they are exactly smooth, they've been polished. Because these faces look smooth, but if you shine light on them, you can see growth interactions and growth helix on it. But if you ever see a quartz crystal where the faces are perfectly smooth, they've been polished. Because what you can do, you can take a damaged piece of quartz, polish new faces on it. This piece of quartz right here is heavily damaged. The tip is damaged, it has fracture on the edge. If this were a perfect crystal with absolutely no damage this size, it would sell for about $500. As it is, this piece right here would probably sell for about $20, $30 because there's damage all over it. That's why I got this smoky quartz piece. It's really beat up. A piece like this in undamaged condition would be probably close to $1,000. This was $65. I bought it for outreach because if something happens to it, it really don't bug me. So you have to be careful when you buy rocks. Now, anybody know what this is? This is dinosaur bone. My sister found this down in Brewster County, Texas. Dinosaur bone is actually not uncommon. There's a lot of places you can find it. Again, this is very crumbly. She came back with buckets of it. Most of it is just almost crumbled to dust. However, this is a much better piece of dinosaur bone I got from Roshan's because that has been replaced with silica. So you could actually polish that and make something really pretty out of it. But good dinosaur bone is rare. Cruddy dinosaur bone is common. So you wouldn't be able to make any research on that. What started me all in rocks was this. This is the very first piece of petrified wood I ever found in 1966. I was 11 years old. My uncle took me to a creek in Mississippi, and I found this piece. And that's what started the insanity. And I'm so glad it did. Because I've had a lot of fun. Because you can find it in unexpected places. This came out of Louisiana. This is a piece of petrified wood I dug up on an outcrop on the side of US Highway 171, about 7 miles south of Manning, Louisiana. And it has really cool because it has nice little drusen quartz crystals on it. And has a really nice, neat structure. But again, it's very crumbly. This piece was about half again as big as it is. So over time, it's just kind of flaked off. In fact, pieces are flaking off of them. Now,
Right. So this one, don't try to pick it up when you come up here, okay? Because it always just comes apart on people.
Now, this is a piece of petrified wood that came out of Austin, Texas. The Houston Club got a call from Austin on a Friday afternoon. Hey, we got 4 hours on Sunday morning. They're bulldozing a hill for a subdivision that's petrified wood in it. So I drove up there. And most of the wood is colorless. It's not real pretty, but you always check the other side. This has some of the best replacement I've ever seen. I mean, you got twigs, knotholes. This side is just blah, but this side has some of the best replacement of structure I've ever seen. Yeah, that's one. I just wish it had some color.
The thing is that one of the color.
Yeah.
Is that when you have petrified wood in Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, you have this beautiful structure here, sometimes even down to the cellular structure, okay? But the thing was, it was petrified as a place, but it was buried in silt. Silt is a very,
Fine
very
grain.
fine particle, but doesn't have a lot of color in it. When you have the wood from Arizona, the petrified wood from Arizona, it was buried in volcanic ash. So it has a lot more minerals, that's why you get all the pretty colors. But because it's larger particles, you don't get the wonderful
Yeah.
detail like you do.
You don't get the internal structure, but you do get the bark on there. This is the piece I got from a fee collection area that's near the petrified forest called the Dobell Ranch. And this is the exact same material that's in the petrified forest. And I've been to Dobell Ranch several times. That isn't where I got the giant piece though.
So,
But, yes,
that's why it's called the Peanut Desert, because that is volcanic.
yes, all that area were that volcanic ash flows. And that's where you get all these beautiful colors from. And in fact, I went to a fee collection area in '74 and got some nice stuff that is now part of the forest. And the Dobell Ranch, they tried to buy it from the owner back in the 50s and he refused. So if you go on Google Earth, old US 180 cuts through his property and the old original entrance from the 30s to the forest is still there. But they routed the road over south of his property and built the south entrance. But, you know, last time I was there, he was selling Arizona petrified wood for about 65 cents a pound.
It was like a dollar ash over there.
Yeah, now it's up to between $5 and $10 a pound. So big pieces get expensive real fast.
Okay, be careful with this one.
It's got some sharp
It has sharp edges, okay? That's why we have gloves with so many holes in them. They go out.
I know this is.
Colors.
Yeah, this is what.
You want to tell them about the materials that give these colors?
Yeah, the reds and yellows are from two different oxidation states of iron. Some pieces of the petrified forest, the yellow is from uranium. Some pieces of the petrified forest have very low levels of uranium oxide and gives that beautiful yellow. It's not radioactive enough to be a problem. The black is manganese and the gray is just silica. Yeah, this is a piece of mahogany obsidian from Oregon, and this has not been polished. These are fractures. It has a Boitroda fracture, and these fracture planes look like they're polished, but they're not. Obsidian is a really neat material. It's called volcanic glass. It's not really glass. It's about 70% silica with a bunch of other minerals in it. But you can take this material and you can sharpen it to almost an atomic level edge. It's the sharpest edge you can ever get. A lot of scalpels for surgeries are now made out of obsidian because you can get a better edge on it than you get on any kind of steel. Because it literally fractures almost down to an atomic edge. It's the sharpest edge there is.
Chris,
Yeah,
how long does that last?
obsidian?
Yes, how long does the edge last?
Don't know. As long as they don't hit something, it is brittle. But as long as they don't hit something hard, it would not be damaged by soft tissue. But if they hit a bone or something, you could chip it very easily.
Okay.
But it is amazing. It's amazing material.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Obsidian is when you're carving it into knives and stuff, it's really hard to get like really fine edges, isn't it?
It's hard to carve, but if you fracture it,
If you don't have a nap.
if you nap it, you can get
Okay.
very, very fine edges.
We had someone who came to the the Baton Rouge Club, Mineral Club several years ago, and he was a knapper, Knapper, and he would go ahead and was showing us how he made things like arrowheads, whatever. And so, I think with the Indians, all that.
But is it possible to get them like razor thin?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, the Aztecs are pretty fond of it.
Oh, yeah. They did a lot of stuff with those.
Right.
Now, this is an interesting piece of petrified wood I found outside of Jasper because I took it to Houston, and they have a petrified wood expert who works at the Houston Museum of Natural Science, and he identified the type of wood. This was a willow tree. Most modern petrified wood that you find today is the same trees we have today, oaks, elms, willows, whatever. That Arizona petrified wood predates most of the dinosaurs. It's between 200 and 250 million years old. This petrified wood is only about probably 35 million years old. So it's all the same trees we have today. If you ever go to the Houston Museum of Natural Science, they have a petrified wood display that has a 4-foot diameter cross-section from Washington State, and you can count the rings all the way across it. It is a really neat piece. So it's worth a trip to go to that museum.
I think that's about it for.
Oh, no, let's see. No, we should, yeah, that's about it for the
Well,
rocks.
we have a memo list to make it the other part.
Yeah, we
And
did.
so what do you do with all this stuff? Well, one of the things we do is that we make rock gardens with it, okay? And like I said, we're not the artsy kind of people.
Oh, no.
Right, no. So we make rock gardens in our yard, we make rock and rose gardens and, little fountains and all. But other things is that we've picked up over the years that people have done. These are agates that Chris has found. And so, where's your flashlight,
I'm
hon?
looking for it.
Right,
Here.
right, right.
Yeah, hold on. Careful.
Yeah.
You see the colors. All these rocks came out of streams in Louisiana and Mississippi. These are called banded agates. They're quartz. The neat thing about those is they did not originate here. These came down from Kentucky and Missouri, and they were brought down by the Mississippi River.
And so anyway, so we like to have them in the kitchen, in jars, and it is fun, okay? This we call the Pac-Man agate, or amethyst, right? And we found this over in Tucson, and we're selling them. And it's just, they can take spheres. I mean, they can take these minerals and they can carve them into spheres. And they have polishers, and it's just fun.
In 2018, we saw a polished sphere of jasper that was 5 feet in diameter. It only weighed 5.5 tons. You could buy it because I think it was $35,000. But it was pretty neat. It reminded me of the giant ball in Indiana Jones.
Right. Okay, and I can put it. There you go. Camera, yes. Okay, this one, someone took agate slabs. I mean, we took a bunch of agate slabs, we made it into a mobile that hangs in front of a window, but it's too delicate to move around or anything. Well, this was someone that had made it into a butterfly, so you can see the light shining through it. This person went ahead and took little mini geodes and made them into keychains. Okay, I said you saw the arrowhead already. This is all made of stone.
That's all stone.
Right, the leaves are stone, the flower petals are stone, the little base is stone. The only thing that's not stone is a little florist wire to put it all together. Okay? So you can really have fun with
we've
this.
seen gem trees in Tucson that were 4 feet high.
Right. And then there's little, dinosaurs you can carve. They carve things out of onyx. And then this is great to put your pills in when you get old.
Oh, yes.
And you can have it, and it looks that's decorative.
I'm sure
it's
young
great.
people like to keep pills and things too.
Right. Okay. Some people take petrified wood and they make it into bookends. Okay. So you can do that. And then this one.
Alabaster.
That's right. And so anyway, this was a little tiny miniature nativity. And my sons gave me 1 year. Okay. And then this is really cool. You need the flashlight.
Yeah, this is called rainbow
You might flash
obsidian.
this way so
It
you
doesn't
can
look like a whole lot until you put light on it. So they carve the layers to produce the form. I've seen it in butterflies, I've seen it in all different kind of form. And it's a natural form of iridium. I've seen it has iridescence. So they carve it to produce all the form, and it's really, really beautiful
Right.
stuff.
And this lady had gone, hiking one time and brought back a whole bucket of rocks, and she started looking at them and realized she could put these rocks together in different shapes. And then so she went ahead and told a story with them and put it into a book. So you can never tell where your rocks might end up in or what you could do with them. It's all up to your imagination. But if it's even wilder than imagination almost, is what Chris is going to show you next. It's really cool.
Okay, the minerals in this case are fluorescent minerals. They glow in ultraviolet light. These are 365 nanometer long wave ultraviolet pen lights. And notice that some of these minerals are not real pretty. If you saw it on the ground, you probably wouldn't pick it up. Remember what they look like. We're going to ask you to turn the lights up, and I'll show you what they look like in ultraviolet light. So, some of these you probably won't be able to see, but we'll be hanging around so you come back and see.
Now, at the second weekend of August,
Can somebody turn the light? There you go.
okay, the second weekend of August, we always have our big gem and mineral show down in Gonzales.
Yes.
And so the Lamar Dixon Center. And so Chris, for the whole weekend, Saturday and Sunday, he will be doing a much larger
I run the
display of
fluorescent
this.
mountain display.
Right,
Okay,
that's all.
we're gonna do, this is.
Did you need me to turn out the more lights?
If you can turn those two off, just those two over there. These are okay. Those two are the ones that put a lot of light on.
Thank you, Scott.
Oh, yeah, that'll work, yeah. Well, I like to do them one at a time. And then I'll show the whole thing.
And if you can't see, if you want to kind of move your
Okay,
chairs
that's
to the
perfect right there.
If some of you want to move your chairs to the middle or whatever, or just come sit on the floor in the middle so you can see better.
Okay, see this very, very drab white light. This is a piece of quartz, and it does that, and ultraviolet light. Now, this is the same light. This one is orange. That's hackmanite. That's yellow. That's wernerite. That's green. That's chalcedony. And you notice there's three different colors in there: orange, blue, and green. It's all the same material. It just has a different impurity that triggers the fluorescence. That's calcite. That's another chalcedony. This is a fluorite. Really nice blue. That's a different quartz. That's a chalcedony, but you can't see the black until that. And this is a calcite, which goes insane in ultraviolet light. Those are rubies. All rubies fluoresce a brilliant red. All rubies fluoresce a brilliant red. The better the gem quality, the brighter the fluorescence. These are not gem quality rubies. If they were, I wouldn't own them. That's a fluorite. That's one of the brightest ones I've ever found. I mean, I bought all these. That's one of the brightest ones I've ever seen. This one will change color in sunlight because sunlight is 10% ultraviolet. It's pretty green. If I take it out in the sunlight, it changes a little bit blue. That is sodalite. That's another ruby. Now this is a long one. That's a fluorite. Now this is a long wave light. See, this one has a little bit of green. Doesn't do a whole lot else. Now remember also, this one was pink in long wave. I've got a short wave light. So in short wave, it does something a little different. The calcite lights up a beautiful orange. And remember, this one was pink. Now it's blue, but it phosphoresces. Now, in some of the chalcedonies, like this one is much better in short wave than it is in long wave. But you know, some of the stuff, the fluorite, it just sits there like a lump. There's a lot of things that are sensitive only to one particular light. Now, phosphorescence is rare in long wave. This is a piece of hot springs deposit material. It's a silicate, undefined composition, but it has a neat property that it phosphoresces beautifully in long wave. In fact, if I put my fingers over it, you can see where my fingers were.
Sounds like the clothes in the laundry.
Oh, yeah. Now, if you notice, your clothes fluoresce, especially white. There's a reason for that. You ever heard of an optical brightener? They put it in laundry detergent. So when you walk out in the sunlight, your clothes are actually fluorescing a little bit. You can't see it, but they look a little bit brighter than they would otherwise. Your fingernails fluoresce, your teeth fluoresce, but I'm not going to shine my face. But this is a great device for finding scorpions. They fluoresce a brilliant white. If there was a scorpion way over in that corner, it would light up bright from this light. We recently visited friends in Las Vegas, and they had a cheap knockoff light out of China, which didn't do anything. Said, "Here, try this one." We found 4 scorpions in his backyard in 2 minutes and killed all of them. But most people out west have one of these because they're very easy to spot. A lot of other things, excuse me, fluorescent light is used for a lot of other things than just doing rocks. A lot of medical equipment is now sterilized with high-intensity shortwave ultraviolet. Instead of using the old steam autoclaves, you can sterilize water. If you have a borosilicate pipe, put an intense shortwave UV and flow the water through it, it kills everything in the water. You've been to the dentist recently and gotten a filling. They put that light next to the filling for a few seconds, and it sets. Back when I was a kid, you had to wait a whole day before you could chew on that side. I know because I broke several of them. But now it sets in seconds, the ultraviolet light. So it also is used a lot in equipment like welding testing. You do a dye penetrant test, they put a fluorescent dye, you can find the smallest crack with an UV light.
Yeah, there's a knockoff of like the dentist glue that you can buy like at Home Depot
Right.
with a little, comes with a little LED well light, and then like you say, you hit it and in 5 seconds it's set.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And so many of the cross-linked polymers set instantly in ultraviolet, and they use a lot of that. Okay, anybody have any questions? Yes.
That, on the top row, the fourth one, next to the other one, yeah, that
This one?
No, the other one. No, the fourth one,
That
yeah, that one. Why is there like a shadow? How come it's only green on the top?
No, this is chalcedony. But see, this rock here is not chalcedony, so it
It's not
doesn't
pure.
fluoresce. But
It's
the
not
part
pure.
that is chalcedony fluoresces.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, but this one right here, this is one of the brightest ones I've ever seen. And I bought this at a little Jim Mental show in DeRidder, of all places. And the guy just had a bowl full of polished fluorides. He had no idea any of them fluoresce. So I always have my light with me everywhere. So I shine on the bowl, said, okay, I'll take these two. Because it's, you don't normally see them glow that brightly. I would love to have the piece that this came from.
How did they get the ruby in those two?
No, the
Well, they
rubies,
just put
the rubies are in matrix. Rubies
Right.
grow in solid rock. Rubies are one of the few crystals that will form in solid rock. This is rubies in, not zoisite, it's, it starts with a V. I can't remember the matrix rock. This comes out of India. And rubies glow, they grow inside the rock. And those are the ruby crystals. You notice they're hexagonal.
Parasite.
Is it parasite?
No, it's not varicite. It's a different, varicite's green.
Yeah, oh, what color is that one?
This is yellow.
That's yellow. Oh.
Now these rubies here, these are in zoisite, and if you notice, they're not crystals, they're in veins. Sometimes rubies don't grow in veins also. It's massive, it doesn't grow in crystals. Another thing that fluoresces a lot of times are diamonds. A large number of diamonds will fluoresce. Now, yes,
So the fluorite, you said it was, the one you,
yeah. It's normally green in regular light.
so what characteristic, because of what, quality of the lattice when it grew?
No, this was interesting. Pure fluorite will not fluoresce. Pure calcite will not fluoresce. Most minerals that fluoresce have an impurity activator. In the case of this fluorite, it's probably europium, which is a rare earth metal. In the case of the calcite, it's manganese.
So it trapped it inside of it?
Well, it has an impurity, and the impurity is what triggers the fluorescence.
Explain how things split up to electrons.
Okay, what happens, the way fluorescence works, is this is a very high energy light. When the photons of the UV light strike the atoms in the crystal, the energy is absorbed by the electron cloud. So the electrons are kicked up to a higher energy orbital. That is unstable. Within a nanosecond, the electron drops back down to rest and emits a single photon of light. Now you always have an energy loss, so high energy invisible ultraviolet is released as visible light. Visible light is less energetic than ultraviolet. The wavelength of the light emitted is the color. Like this yellow one is a longer wavelength than the blue. The red is the longest wavelength of all. So the reason these colors look so pure is they're essentially a single wavelength of light.
Lights.
Yeah, you can turn the lights back on, please. Yeah, and if anybody have any other questions?
Where do you get all those ones with the rubies and stuff?
Okay, I buy these at Jim Mental shows.
Right.
Because these are mined in foreign countries, and there's really hardly any place you can go find them. There are some places in the United States you can find rubies up in the Northeast. There's some mines, fee mines you can go to, and they have a bunch of the gravel. You sift through it, you can actually find rubies and sapphires.
Yeah, we have a Jazz Mineral Show coming up in August at the market.
Yeah.
The second weekend in August and, at the
We're getting
market.
Christmas cards, we're gonna
Yes.
get you some cards.
Oh, yeah, that'll work, yeah.
We're getting the printer up right now, so.
Hey, Chris?
Yeah.
Any luck with meteorites?
I have never collected meteorites because I'm just can't be absolutely certain that they're real.
Yeah.
They're so expensive. I mean, they are just hideously expensive. Now, if you buy one from a reputable dealer, it's good. But meteorites are not, they're just, they're neat, but they're not showy.
Yeah.
And I think they're cool, but I've just never collected them.
What kind of element are they made of if they're from outer space?
Mainly, well, they can be everything. The best ones are nickel iron. And those are the ones that you slice them and etch it up, and you get those beautiful crystalline lines in them. The most valuable meteorites are calicites, because they are metals with, what is it, olivine?
Olivine.
Yes, olivine crystals in it. Olivine is some of the oldest minerals in the universe. Olivines came in right after diamonds and graphite.
Does anyone here have an August birth date?
Oh, yeah.
Olivine is peridot.
Peridot.
Yeah, so in that
Right.
meteorite, there's peridot or olivine crystals in it, so when it's sliced thin and held up to the light, it's glowing green.
It's absolutely
crystals in
beautiful.
there. It's amazing.
But those meteorites are incredibly expensive.
Right, last August, Catherine had this beautiful pendant that she had made, and had a meteorite on it, and when you flipped it over, remember how she got, so she had a little dinosaur on the back of it.
Yeah, for the Chick-fil-A.
Watch it go.
Exactly. It was kind of like that.
But there, one of the big problems today is back 30, 40 years ago, there were a lot of places you could go on open land to collect, and it's just almost impossible nowadays to find where to go. We had half a dozen spots in Mississippi. We could go anytime we wanted. They're all gone. You used to have a dozen spots in Arizona. You could just go pick up petrified wood on any BLM land or any open land. All those are gone. It's just there's hardly anywhere to collect. Most of the time, clubs will make a deal with a landowner or a mine or something to get access. The Dobell Ranch is the only place I know of in Arizona where you can go. It's a fee collect, but it's a very low fee. You can go actually, like that piece right there. I dug that out of their pit. I was up there I was smart enough not to go in August. You did not go to Arizona in August. I was there in October. It was cool. So they let you either sift through stuff they pile up in the yard, or you can go dig your own. I decided to go dig, and I found that piece digging in the pit. It was about a foot down. It's like, oh, cool. But the biggest problem, like I said, is finding a place to collect.
Can I suggest something?
Yeah.
So for those of y'all who have Facebook, if you're going to a particular state and you're looking to possibly go and collect rocks, just look for the Rock County Facebook groups on that state. And a lot of large landowners now are realizing people wanting to go and rock hound, so they will give you a guided tour on their property, or say, wherever you collect, give us $1 a pound for it.
Yeah.
And so those places like that become more and more popular. But use Facebook, use social media to find out about them.
Right, there are a few places around here, like the Bogachitta River in eastern St. Tammany Parish. You can find agates, pretty much like what's in that jar. Homochitto also. Yeah, those two you can generally find.
Right. One lady in our club went ahead and she wanted some gravel for her driveway, but she went ahead and got a load of gravel and dumped it at one spot and then went through it bit by bit, so she could find.
Found a bunch of nice agates. Yeah, river gravels will
spread for
always
the driveway.
contain banded agate, coral fossils. Yeah, you may find some other fossils. If you're lucky, you might find some carnelian, which I have found. And so it's just fun to just poke around and look through things. You never know what you're gonna find. The only place I've ever found the geodes is up by Yazoo City in Mississippi. And all those areas that I knew up there. In fact, my brother and I spent an entire day driving all these back roads off in the hills, and every single spot that had creek access was posted no trespassing. So, yes.
I will say, if you don't mind driving, they have, Southeastern Iowa has.
Oh, yeah, the Keokuk, yeah.
Geo's State Park.
Yeah. And you can collect there.
Right.
Is Rockhound State Park in New Mexico still around, or is that gone?
As
I'm
of,
thinking it's still there.
as of 3 years ago, Vanessa
Okay.
from the club went there.
Yeah, because there was some stuff there you could find, although a lot's been picked over so bad. The problem is if something is in a book, it's usually picked clean. I got real lucky one time. I went out to Arizona and had Gem Trails of Arizona, and they had a spot by Woodruff Mountain. Well, of course, it's in the book. There was nothing there. But if you pay attention to the geology, the same strata the petrified wood in was on about 4 miles away on the old Woodruff Ranch Road, which runs up to 180. So, okay, I'll just drive up there. I got stopped on the road. That's petrified whatever. I picked up 800 pounds of petrified wood fragments, mostly fist size, in 2 days on 6 miles of the old Woodruff Ranch Road. 2 years later, that location hit the internet. It was posted no trespassing within 3 months because people dig, it's open range and they run cattle on it. Well, people dig holes or they leave trash. So it was, that whole area is gone
Or
now.
they bring heavy equipment.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's a big problem.
My brother and I were on a road running along a pipeline at the power plant by St. John's. And it runs about 2 miles back into the hills north of north of I-40. And we were walking around down a ravine, and there was a lot of crumbling petrified wood there. I found a few nice pieces. We come around the corner, and there is a solid yellow jasper petrified log about 3 feet in diameter sticking out of a bank. I got a picture of my brother sitting on it. It weighed tons. Went there the next year. Someone had gotten there with a link belt machine and hauled that thing out and had an enormous crater. Well, then the power company closed the road. So that's what generally happens. But I still dream of that piece. So there's no way we could have gotten it. It probably weighed 4 or 5 tons. It was awesome, though. Okay, that's about it. I hope y'all enjoyed it.
So, I guess the last thing left is the raffle. I'll her ticket. And we've got, let's see, a 2-inch Barlow for Ryan Barlow.
That's courtesy of Craig. Craig
Yes.
had donated a few
Wow,
items.
that's nice.
Yeah.
2X?
2X, yes.
That's nice. That's a nice one right there. Of course, you need a 2-inch mount.
Yep. Although most any scope now comes,
Well, yeah, mine's 49 years old.
very
No, it's 50
good.
years old now. Wow, I can't believe I've had that's 50 years.
The High Atlas 2000 Companion Edition.
That's nice.
Not a space here. Just put
Sorry.
them over
Yeah.
here. Maybe.
And we'll go ahead and kill the live feed now.
Yeah, we'll give you some more room over here.
The minerals that